some of this is kind of old hat to some of you that have been doing this for a long time, but I thought it might be useful at the end just to talk a little bit about the process of communicating with our legislators, and because it's can be both easy and frustrating, but I think as we move forward, and I really want to encourage people, if 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 I say, please write your legislator about this bill, I know I'm bad. Sometimes other organizations ask me to do that, and I'm sort of saying, well, yeah, I'll do it, and then I get busy with other things and I forget. So I suppose I'm guilty of sometimes ignoring those requests for participation. But part of what our network does is to try to communicate with legislators, and one of the reasons that we organize as a statewide network is because we realized that we could talk all we wanted to our local legislators, most of whom are quite sympathetic to what we're doing, but they're only 6 out of 150, right? The Black Hawk legislators are only 6 out of 150. And so we really need to get people from all different parts of the state talking to different legislators about these issues. So the way I decided to do this, rather than just talk your ear off, is I'm going to share the screen. I can get it to share here. What you have in front of you is the Iowa legislature screen. Okay, this is what pops up when you can simply Google Iowa legislature and you'll get it, but the address is www.legis.iowa.gov. That's you can see it at the top there. And this is what will pop up on your screen when you first get on that website, and you'll see that down below they have some summaries of what's going on that particular day. I think what you'll be most frequently using is those buttons along the top of the screen, right along around here. See, and so let's assume that you want to contact your legislator, the person, either your House member or your Senate member that represents you. Well, what you're going to do is you're going to go to this button called legislators, and now probably most of us know who our senator or rep is, but just in case you don't know who they are, there's this find your legislator link, and in there it will ask you for your address or your zip code. And so, for example, if I put in my address, 2709 Edgewood Drive in Cedar Falls. Whoops, if I can type. And I do search, it will tell me what I already know, that Eric Giddens is my senator. Great guy, love him. Bob Kresick is my representative, another great guy, I love him too. So if I don't happen to know who my legislator is, then I can find out pretty quickly. And of course, I'll get to that in a minute. Well, let's say I do know who my legislator is. So, or my senator. First off, start with the senator. There's 50 senators and 100 representatives. So, roughly speaking, a House district is about 1/2 the size of a Senate district. So, and so you'll see when you click on that the Senate members are listed in alphabetical order. Okay, and so and the Zoom is covering up my scrolling here, but my scrolling button here, but I can go down and I can click on my senator, and I'm going to do this through the other method because I'm getting my scroll button screwed up here for some reason. It's the same thing. I will get these same results. Well, maybe not. I'm sorry. Sorry, my typing is not great at 4 in the afternoon. Okay, so a search, and then I can click on Eric Giddens, and it will tell me what district he represents, and it will tell me what committees he's on. And then I'm going to try to move this over a little bit because I'm not getting to my scroll thing here. It's really hampering me here. And it will give you his legislative email. You can contact him that way, and then it will give you his legislative address, which of course is the Capitol. But sometimes, and you can't see that here, but it will also give you his home address and his home email. And different senators and representatives will have different amounts of information on their page, as they can choose if they want to put their home address on there or not. Some do and some don't. But once you get to his page, then you can tell a lot of information about what positions he occupies in the legislature, and also about him personally. So let's talk about contacting your legislator then. Well, as you can see here, we have this is their email that they're assigned by the legislature, and they're all basically the same. It's their first name dot last name at legis.iowa.gov. So any senator or representative for their Des Moines email is going to have that same suffix. So that's one way to get hold of them. The only problem with using that is they're getting dozens of emails at that address. Okay, and so it may be a little bit hard for them to sort your email out from all the dozens of others that they're going to get. They're going to get them from lobbyists, they're going to get them from their constituents, they're going to get them from other people in Iowa. And so that isn't always necessarily, that's what you use if you don't have anything else. But if you have their home email, it's probably going to get to them quicker. And my assumption is if they put their home email on the page, they don't mind you contacting them by their home email. If they minded, they wouldn't put it up there, right? So I don't think most senators and representatives are necessarily going to be offended if you use their home email rather than their legislative email. So and then with if you want to send them a letter, a lot of them don't put their home addresses on their page, but that's the general address for any legislator. You can write them a letter at that Grand Avenue address because that's the address of the Capitol. And of course, as you may know, legislators don't have extensive staffs. They're not like members of Congress that have 30 people working in their office in the House office building, or they have at best maybe an intern or a secretary working for them. And of course, they don't even have offices per se. Their office is their desk in the chamber. Okay, that's the only office they have at the Capitol. So you may have to wait for their letter to actually get to them, and then for them to be able to generate a response, because they just don't have people around that routinely generate those responses. Of course, I don't know how much those routine responses from U.S. senators and congressmen mean anyway, because they'll I'll always say thank you for your letter, blah blah blah. But anyway, you can't expect that from members of the Iowa legislature. Phone calls, again, you can call them at the Capitol. You can call them at their home if they leave that number for you, and you may not be able to expect a rapid response when you um, um, uh, when you do that. Another, I wouldn't discount good old-fashioned snail mail, because I think, and I've had legislators echo this, if somebody takes the trouble to write a letter, and you should always make it a handwritten letter, better to have a handwritten letter than have it typed. It doesn't have to be long. You don't want it to be long. And if somebody takes the trouble to write a letter, stick it in an envelope, pay 60 cents for the stamp, and send it, that just takes a little more effort than just clicking an email, boom, 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 like that. So I think maybe some legislators actually respect the extra effort that you put into contacting that way, rather than just whipping off an email. So I mean, that's just something to consider. We've done that before. We set up a table at our church where we had paper and envelopes and stamps, and people could just sit there and write a letter on whatever issue we were dealing with. So that's just a little kind of a now I'm not going to in terms of how you communicate. Well, first off, writing them a letter saying you want criminal justice reform is nice, but during a session, you want to mention specific legislation as much as you can. You want to say, I want you to support House Bill 403. Now, as a nonprofit, we have to somewhat limit how much we can collectively do that, because that's considered lobbying. We can do some, but we have to watch how much we do. But you as an individual, you're unrestricted in how much you want to mention specific legislation. And actually, as a nonprofit, we can, when we ask our members to lobby, that's not quite the same as our doing it as an organization. So there's a lot more freedom on that. But anyway, so be specific, and don't think you have to write a 5-page essay about the legislation. They don't have time to read it. And so you really need to be as succinct. State what you're supporting, state briefly the reasons you're supporting. I think people always say personal stories are effective, and I think they are, except a personal story that takes 3 pages to tell may not get read that carefully. So if you are going to tell a personal story, again, make it brief, like your other communication. I don't think it's a big surprise to many of you that all the major work of the legislature is done in committees. Okay, that's where they really hammer out the details of legislation, and in subcommittees as well, like our friend Cam was sharing earlier. And so it's really important to identify who sits on which committees. And again, the web page makes that fairly easy, because I can click on agriculture and it will give me a complete list of all the senators that sit on the Senate Agriculture Committee, and I can do the same thing for the House Agriculture Committee. And you'll notice that each committee has a chair and a vice chair, and I'm sorry, I'm pointing with my hand, that doesn't look good. they have a chair and a vice chair, and those are both from the majority party, and then they have a ranking member who represents the minority party on the committee. So, and I don't think it's totally useless to contact all the members of a committee when they're considering an important piece of legislation, even though they're not from your district, and sometimes they pay less attention to people that are not from their district than people from their district. But I think it can help, I think, show a committee that there's a lot of people out there that are concerned about this, and that are concerned enough to take the time to write all the relevant members of the committee of both parties, and get that message out. So once you have this list, you can, it's not super easy, but you can construct an email list from this and communicate all with them. Of course, you can also just write the chair and the vice chair and the ranking member if you don't have time to write all 20 people on the committee. And of course, the House committees are huge. Sometimes they may have 30 members, and that's a little bit difficult. Of course, most of you have heard of the funnel, which is the deadline by which bills need to be reported out of subcommittee or committee for them to even be considered by the full body. And that's a way that they kind of organize their business, but it also means that if people don't hear from you before the funnel, it may be too late. And the first funnel usually occurs sometime around that last week in February or the first week in March. I don't know the exact funnel date for this year, and so getting people letters out, as long as you're in February, you're probably pretty safe. But you get into March, and you may your bill that you're writing about may have already died. Now, there's some circumstances in which they can bring up stuff after the funnel, but that's fairly rare. Okay. Now to go back to the main site here. Let's see. Let me get back here. Get back to the main page here. Oh gosh, it threw me out of the whole thing. I'm sorry, just a minute. All right. If you know the number of a bill, you can key in the number of the bill. You go to the section that says bills. You can also look up stuff in the Iowa Code or previous legislation that's been passed, but what you're usually interested in is a section on bills. Okay, so I'm going to key in the number that Cam gave me. It's HSF 100. Wait a minute, messed me up here. Let me backspace here. HSF 1004. And if I click on that, I think maybe he had the number wrong on that. Let me go back a minute. I think we need to put house file in here. Well, sorry, there's something off on the number he gave me here. Let me try a Senate file. Well, I'm sorry. I was trying to use this as an example, but I think he must have, or else I wrote it down wrong. Let me try another one just for an example. Stop it. I'm not having any luck today. All right. Well, you'll just have to take my word for it. Um, I'll try one more here. I wrote down these numbers, but for some reason they're not showing up the way I want them to do. This is a bill that all right, here we go. This is a bill that was introduced by our local legislator, um, um, Bob Kressig. Okay, and what I'm trying to show you here is that by putting the bill number in, you can immediately access the bill. Okay, there it is. That's the bill. And again, my scrolling is kind of messed up here, so I'm not sure how to get it over so I can scroll. But so it will give you the entire text of the bill. But sometimes the language of the bill can be very confusing to us. Well, it can be confusing to legislators too, but to us lay people that are trying to do this. So I encourage everybody, if I could scroll down and show you, I would. Uh, um, the uh, at the end of each bill, there's a section called explanation, and I think that's prepared by the Legislative Services Bureau. So the explanation period section will tell you what the bill is really about. Because it's confusing. You'll have in the bill itself, you have crossed out language and added language, and so sometimes it's really hard to track exactly what's going on. But with the explanation, it zeroes you right in on what the bill is about. And so if you read the explanation, you can usually understand more clearly what they're really trying to do. And so I encourage everybody to use that explanation section. Now, and it'll also tell you, where what the status of the bill is, where it is in committee. Now, if you don't know the bill's number, you can still key in. See, it has a place for you can search by either number or keyword. So for example, these are the keywords for well, this is criminal law. So this is, well, I'm sorry, I'm not getting the right thing here, but this is you can a lot of times it's harder to find things this way than if you let's see, let me get the home here. It's harder to find bills by a keyword, but sometimes you can do that if you don't know the actual number of the bill. With IJAN, we try to always, as much as possible, give you the bill number so you can easily open it and see what it actually says. Now, another option, if you're really gung-ho, let me, if you really want to, if you aren't interested in just one bill, if you want to track bills in a certain area, say criminal justice, then you can go into where it says we can go into this section where it says legislation under the legislation button, and there's a section called Bills and Rules Watch. And so you can sign up under that to receive notification of any bill that's occurring in your area of interest. So I'm signed up for criminal justice, okay? So and I'll warn you, this will kind of clutter up your inbox a little bit, because I probably get 4 or 5 of those a day. Okay, so I mean, you may not want to clutter up your inbox with 4 or 5 additional messages a day, but if you do want to track legislation in a certain area, they do make that possible for you to do that. So on my email, I'll get notifications about criminal justice, and I can look, and because that way you can catch stuff that you may not know about, that you may not already be aware that they're up to in the way of of mischief or good things. So I think I'll stop. I'm about out of my time anyway, and I'm going to stop screen sharing here and see if anybody has any questions about any of that. I've really fired it past you pretty quickly here, but I certainly will be glad to send you my my narrative that I did if you like that, if you want to go back over it, but because I have it printed, I didn't have it on a Word document here, and then but also you can just go to the Iowa Legislature website and just play around, and I know some of you young people, they're a lot better at going to websites and just fiddling around than some of us older folk. We tend to get discouraged more easily than they do about just kind of playing around and punching this button and punching that button to try to find out what's going on. Marilis, you had a question or comment.
Yeah.
Mary Ellis, I'm sorry. Mary Ellis, I'll get it right one of these days.
No worries, you're good. Thank you. Yes, Mary Ellis. So, like I mentioned before, I'm from Florida. So, I don't have like an address just yet. So what should I do as far as finding the proper legislator in so I can like try to reach out, or should I just reach out to the masses and like try that way?
Do you know where you're going to live?
Yes.
Approximately.
Yeah, my goal is around Iowa City.
Okay. And do you have even a zip code of where you might live?
Yeah,
Like,
I can get a zip code. Yeah.
well,
Yes.
if you just put the zip code in the find a legislator box, it should guide you to your legislator, even if you don't have a specific address. Now,
Okay.
some zip codes are going to overlap. There may be some zip codes where part of it's represented by one person and part of it's represented by another, because the zip code boundaries don't always neatly correspond to the legislative district boundaries. You can also call up a map of the legislative district and kind of see what particular area that person represents, and so I think you might be able to uncover the relevant person, even if you don't know precisely where you're going to live at this point. So that would be my suggestion on that. And if it doesn't work, contact me. I don't know that I can help you, but that's what I would try anyway.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I just have another question. If it's possible, can Miss Latanya Graves, can you provide us any sort of contact information just
I
to
think I think she's off the call, but I'll send you. I'm sure she won't mind if I send you her email. Oh no, Tanya's still here. Sorry. If you
no,
want to send her your email, she can contact you. Uh, I appreciate that. All right. Well, it's been the end of a long day, and I appreciate everybody hanging in there. I really was pleased that we had some fall off, but you expect that during the day of a conference. Not everybody can be there for the whole day, but we really had most of the people that signed up or participating most of the day. And I'm really gratified that people are interested. This isn't the last you'll hear from me or IJAN, and so we'll be contacting you as things come up. And my immediate job is going to be to solicit letters on the bill that the Reform Alliance is working on, because that seems to be pretty hot right now. It looks like they might actually get a favorable vote on that. So we need to jump in right away if we're going to have some influence on that. But as other things come up, that House File 15 that I just called up is a pretty good bill, and so we might want to jump in on that one as well. So at any rate, again, thank you for all. And I should mention, and there's not many people left, but we don't usually do formal evaluations on our conferences. But if you do have comments about the conference, we're always glad to hear from people about suggestions or comments that they have. And also, I'll remind the people that are left that the recording is. I've made the recording. I'll be fumbling around and figuring out how to disseminate it properly, and I'll hopefully at least have it out there on a YouTube video that you can look at before before we before we actually formally get our webpage set up, which I hope will be soon. So and I saw that Jennifer, I saw your request. If you would email me that just to remind me, you should have my email now. If you just email me on that, I'll see what I can do for you. You know, we don't do sort of direct intervention type stuff, except Sue, of course. But but if you send me an email, I'll try to see if I can connect you with some resources. So thanks again, everybody, and I'll end the call here. So.